All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you're able to catch the previous presentation with George with Senior Housing News. We now have Wes Fuller with further with us. He is the founder and CEO, and I'm really excited about this next presentation just because I know a lot of focus has been on AI and machine learning in 2023, and so I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on how we can make our lives more simple through data. And we just wrapped up with George, and his message was telling a story. And a lot of times you need to have that data to tell that story. So really interested to hear your presentation. And first, before we get started, Wes, I just want to see if you have an interesting fact about yourself that you can share with everybody.
Well, I can tell you something I'm looking forward to right now. So I live in New York City, and yesterday was started the US Open tennis tournament. So I'm hoping to get my at least one of my kids over to see the tournament live for the first time this year, and rooting for any tennis fans out there for another Djokovic Alcaraz final here. So it could be a really exciting couple of weeks in the tennis world.
That would be awesome. I hope you're able to make that happen. And I'll hand the floor over to you.
Great, thanks. Well, let me hop up here for screen share. Okay, we'll hold our breath, and there we go. Okay. All right. Well, great. So thanks, Larry. So as Larry said, I'm Wes Fuller, CEO and co-founder of Further. Appreciate getting invited back to speak at A.S.K Day again. So thank you, Dreamscape. Today we're going to be covering machine learning. I'm not positive, Larry, that it's going to make our lives simpler, but I think it will make things more informed and hopefully allow us to make better decisions in the field. Our focus today is how we can use machine learning to resolve sort of an age-old tension between lead quantity and lead quality. The prompts that we used for this session were really inspired by the questions that we get asked and by clients, and requests we get from clients about how we can apply our technology to help their businesses. So we often get questions about how do we get more leads off of our website? How do we improve lead quality? How can we use technology to improve our sales processes? How do we use metrics to qualify leads? Can we add more bandwidth to our sales team with AI? And where in our sales process besides websites can we apply technology? So these are the kinds of questions that we get asked routinely, and sort of inspired us to tackle this topic today. We've rolled that into an agenda that we set down here. So we're going to try to uncover where this tension between quantity and quality comes from, how we think machine learning and AI can help, and then hopefully bring this out of the ivory tower into the field with some action steps. All right. So first up, so where does this tension come from between quantity and quality? And I personally feel like roughly since the beginning of time, there has been this issue between sales and marketing around leads. Marketing is putting forth their effort to find leads and get them over to sales. And for sales, often, the leads aren't good enough, or there aren't enough good leads, or both. So this is sort of an age-old paradigm in sales and marketing. I think this is particularly acute, though, in senior living, because unlike sales teams in most industries, the sales directors in senior living have lots of things to do besides just work leads. We pulled this slide together based on a job description that we saw posted that we kind of deconstructed to list out all of the responsibilities that the senior living sales director role can entail. And we found 29 unique things that a sales director is responsible for. Only 3 of those actually related to managing leads. So there's a very limited amount of bandwidth that senior living sales directors have to focus on leads, and therefore not much. They're a little prickly if if that limited amount of time is spent on low quality leads. And then there's an additional thing in senior living, which is the conversion rates of the leads. I think this further exacerbates the issue, and it's something I think everyone is familiar with. But as digital traffic has gone up, that's meant more digital leads. Historically, there hasn't been a way to differentiate between digital leads. It's just been name, email, phone. So then we're just dumping more and more leads onto the legacy sales process, which is driving down conversion rates and frustrating sales teams. So when we think about this tension between quantity and quality, there's that historical paradigm with marketing around leads. Between marketing and sales, there's senior living bandwidth and there's senior living conversion rates, and all that makes it tough to keep throttling up lead quantity given the conversion issues. So we think the sort of answer to this question, the way to resolve this tension, is to leverage data. We think that there's actually a really interesting use case for machine learning here. We think it's possible and have some data points to support it, that machine learning will be able to predict which senior living prospects are actually going to turn into customers. And if you can do that, if you can successfully do that, it unlocks a lot of opportunities. It enables sales teams to focus on the highest value prospects, because it allows you to segment out the low likelihood and low converting leads. And if you can remove those lower quality, lower converting leads, then that actually creates a space for marketing to then expand the funnel at the top. So we think really the key to resolving this tension between quantity and quality and being able to do both is data and predictive lead scoring. So before we get into the rest of the presentation, where we'll kind of explain our point of view on how to approach all of this, I wanted to take a moment to explain who we are and why we're qualified to speak on this topic. So we're a technology company. We focus on maximizing conversion rates of digital prospects in senior living. We've got about a 60-person team, about half of whom are focused on product, technology, and data. Additionally, our team has about 250 years of cumulative senior living experience. And so this problem is actually the thing we spend the most time on, and we view ourselves experts on it. We've got a platform that has three components. The first is optimized digital sales experiences. So these are prospect-facing tools that engage with prospective residents across web form, web chat, social, phone, SMS, and email, and across multiple prospect stages, including visitor, lead, pre-tour, post-tour, and repeat visitor. We also have automated sales workflows for community sales teams and sales and marketing business intelligence tools for corporate teams and ownership groups. So by virtue of this platform, which is engaging with prospects all the time, we have a really large universe of data, and this is, we'll get to in a moment, going to be the foundation for developing a machine learning model which can predict likelihood to move in. So just to give you a sense of the scale of the data points that we're dealing with and operating with, I wanted to present some numbers from 2022. So last year we saw our tools were exposed to 26 million website visitors. We had 4 million conversations with senior living prospects. Those prospects took 152 million distinct actions that we were able to track in our system. And those prospects resulted in 1.3 billion of lifetime value that we were able to deliver to our clients through the platform. Another data point that I think is really interesting, and we'll circle back to in a few slides, is we've seen a significant increase in the number of communities that are using data to segment leads. So we'll circle back to that and kind of the practical applications of this. so our platform is providing the data, and our hypothesis here is that machine learning can accurately predict which prospects are going to become customers. And again, if we can do that, we think it will allow us to resolve this tension between quantity and quality. So getting into kind of the, how the sausage is made and how one actually builds a machine learning model. The foundation for a machine learning model is data. And if you think about, each senior living prospect, there are hundreds of attributes about each prospect, down to, the device they're using, the time of day that they're using it, the day of the week they're using it, what they do on the website, whether they view photos or videos or floor plans, how they respond to certain questions, what next steps they take. Do they become a lead? Do they become a tour? Do they become a move-in? So there's all these attributes that are attached to each individual prospect. And again, there are millions of these prospects that are flowing through our platform. And so this is a sort of raw material for creating the machine learning model. So with data as that foundation, the objective is then to use statistics to identify a correlation between all those attributes and the outcomes we're seeking. So basically the question is, can you take all those attributes and predict which prospects will become customers? And this is a problem that we've been working on for years. The first version of our models were not very good at this, actually. They were only about 50% predictive, which isn't all that useful in the field if you're kind of flipping a coin and to figure out the likelihood of someone to move in. But over time, we've tested different iterations of the model. The model also self-improves, which of course is the learning in machine learning. And so over time, we've gotten better and better at this. And we're now to a point where we're at roughly 80% predictiveness on a user's likelihood to move in. So we think we're at this is sort of a tipping point of utility in the field. A couple of statistics I wanted to share that I think are both, I don't know, like they're kind of blindingly obvious, but also like profoundly groundbreaking, because they're things like you knew, but you couldn't prove. And now the numbers are actually available to prove it. So a couple of stats that I find particularly compelling. So first off is seeing the 80-20 rule actually like play out in real life. So our model is now the way our model is scoring leads and predicting likelihood of move-in. The top scoring 23% ultimately resulted in 76% of the move-ins that came from that data set. So again, like, nearly 80% of the move-ins are coming from roughly 20% of the leads. So like, again, that's kind of like, okay, obviously good leads convert better, but the question has always been which ones are the good leads, and through this model, we're now able to see that. Another lens on this that I think is really interesting is the bottom half of the leads were only 5% of the move-ins from a scoring perspective, or said another way, the top 50% highest scoring leads accounted for 95% of the move-ins. And this one I thought was kind of interesting because there's this old adage in advertising that half of your spend is wasted, half of your advertising spend is wasted, you just don't know which half. And I think this is really interesting because, again, you see it playing out in the numbers here, what the model is predicting and what's actually happening lines up really well with sort of your mental model of what you would expect. The final thing I wanted to point out, because I think it's really important as we think about our sales teams and their psychology, because those are human beings that these leads are going to, right? And they've got to like work these leads day in and day out, is that our lowest performing, or rather the highest performing cohort in terms of our scoring model ultimately converted at almost 500 times higher conversion rate than the lowest performing cohort. And again, you're like, yeah, no kidding. Better leads convert better than bad leads, like obviously, except that if you don't know which leads are good or bad, and you're just asking your sales team to work all of those leads, they're spending a significant amount of time on things that are, very, very, very unlikely to convert, instead of the ones that could be converting at 500 times the conversion rate. So these are some interesting, I don't know, to me, they're interesting data points, and things we've learned in the field as we've rolled out this machine learning model and predictive movement model. Let's see here. Great, there we go. So thinking about, what does this mean in the field? There are a number of implications, I think, to sales as well as marketing. So just starting with our hypothesis or what we're positing is, if you can use data as your first layer of qualification, it unlocks this really interesting domino effect for sales. So if we use data to be the first layer of qualification, then that enables us to treat different different cohorts of leads differently. And that segmentation is, never before had sophistication that we can bring to the legacy senior living sales process. So that's a very, interesting paradigm shift right there. The next thing that is enabled is what do we do with these lower scoring cohorts so that we can ultimately improve the efficiency of our sales process overall. And so what we're doing, and what I'm sure others in the industry are doing, is starting to use automation as the first line of outreach. So instead of using the salesperson to outreach to lower scoring cohorts, we can use automation. And then that also serves as sort of a second layer of qualification, again, being done on an automated basis using data instead of using sales teams. So as we, I think back to that stat about, half of the leads accounting for only 5% of the move-ins. If we can give half of their time back, the sales teams, if we can give them half of their time back to focus on the leads that are going to result in 95% of the move-ins and use automation for the other half, we're really unlocking the sales team's ability to focus on higher quality opportunities. And from a sales team's point of view, we are increasing the quality of the leads that they are seeing. So which is obviously resulting in higher conversion rates. So those are some of the sales implications. Marketing side, there's some other interesting things that are happening too. So once we can, if we can predict the likelihood of a prospect to be a move-in, then we can feed that back into our marketing activities and focus on targeting the higher value leads, higher quality leads. So in our platform, we are overlaying this predictive move-in score on top of marketing keywords, campaigns, and channels. Again, to focus time and money on those channels that are producing higher quality prospects. That obviously dominoes right into the core topic here of quality, improving the quality, but also the quantity. And again, if we can shift the mix away from low to high quality prospects, again, we're resolving that tension and kind of solving our core conundrum. The other interesting thing about predictive lead scoring is its impact on the feedback loop. Historically in our industry, you might need to wait 2, 3, 4 months to know if a campaign is producing leads that are that are turning into move-ins. And so what's really interesting about predictive lead scoring is it's nearly instant feedback. So in a matter of a week or two, you can see, is a campaign producing the types of prospects that are likely to become customers or not. So that again is saving marketing teams a lot of time and money. So what we think data-driven segmentation powered by machine learning is doing is taking that vicious cycle of low conversion and converting it into a virtuous cycle where we have increased lead volume, but we're using data to qualify it. We're using segmentation to improve our sales process, and that's resulted in higher conversion rates and happier sales teams. And that, you know, so I guess summing up, we think increasing quantity and quality of leads is possible, and we think the kind of key unlock is machine learning and data-driven segmentation. So turning to, you know, what that means for providers today, and what they can do today. So you know, first off, we've been publishing a decent amount of content on this topic. So please take a look at, if you're interested in learning more, feel free to take a look at the content we've written on AI and ML that's on our website. We also wanted to present a little bit of like a blueprint for how you can create your own machine learning model. You know, it's, you know, a provider has the requisite data, maybe not, you know, in the same like quantity, but you do have behavioral data, you do have marketing data on leads, and you know, it's definitely possible to DIY this and push that data into a data lake and run machine learning models on top of it, and start to improve the predictiveness of that model. Of course, we're you know, the other action item that one could take is we're happy to talk to you at further and tell you our approach to it and how we may be able to help use data to improve both quality and quantity of leads. So thanks very much for the time, and happy to chat about any questions right now, or feel free to reach out to me, wes@talkfurther.com, or check us out on LinkedIn or the website. And we'll also be at pretty much every conference this fall, Smash and Nick and etc. So talking.
That's great. Thank you, Wes. That was really informative. I know Dave and I both were taking a lot of notes. We did have one question that I want to run past you. There we go. Sorry, my chat dropped for a second. This is from Mindy. She says, "Hi, I'm curious where you get the data points you use in your model. Are they readily available, or do you have specific tools to seek specific information?"
Yeah, that is a great question, and one for our CTO. I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head, but it is certain, you know, there certainly are tools, you know, it's first party data is the short answer. And so it's just about kind of, you know, having the ability to view the prospect and then pull in the data in a structured format.
Sure. Thank you for that. And this might be another question for your CTO, which is, how long does setting up this framework typically take when you work with clients?
Well, so the framework is so our lead scoring model is cumulative, so it's not per client, and so that's kind of part of the power of it, is it's across, you know, a massive data set, which allows for higher levels of predictability, predictiveness. So when we onboard a new client, it plugs in, it's instantaneous, it plugs in immediately. If you know, if someone was going to DIY this, I mean, it's taken us years, so, you know, to get where we are, but you know, to have a functioning model, you know, I don't know, it's probably a matter of months, but so it'll just be a question of how refined you want it to be and the resources you have to kind of get it there.
Gotcha. No, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. That was great. Dave, did you have any questions, or did we cover it all?
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to follow up as like as the marketing guy in this scenario, and you know, hearing the term quality and quantity is like a staggering. It's like, again, Wes, it's like a simple but staggering thing to hear, because we never talk about both, right? And so, I guess my question is, it kind of, I think Larry asked it, but I'll just ask it again. As you know, from my perspective, we're, as the marketing guy, we're always trying to set up these, we call them like shell opportunities. We want to give our sales teams as many opportunities as possible, and as we do things, we learn and we refine them. So if someone hooks up this machine learning model to their community, they're immediately seeing the benefit of all of this knowledge. It's not just from their community, it's from senior living just experience and models and new residents process from everything you guys have learned over your whole time, right? It's not just about your community, it's taking all of that data and bringing it to bear on your marketing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we think it's, we think, and another sort of lens on this is sometimes our clients feel like they are, bringing a knife to a gunfight in terms of how they compete with lead aggregators who have a lot more scale, a lot more data. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is bring again, a cumulative data set across, millions and millions of visitors and thousands of communities and lots of years, and bringing that to bear sort of right out of the box, without a learning curve for our new clients.
That's awesome, because this stuff can be so intimidating for, even us older traditional marketers. This is an intimidating steep learning curve sometimes. And I think George in the previous session hit on it too, was that not even just competing against aggregators, competing against maybe a bigger community that's in your metro, is that you always feel like the underdog. You feel like you can't compete. And I think that's a lot of the theme of this conference is these tools are leveling the playing field between the Davids and Goliaths. And George said something very specific about putting your brand out there, building yourself up bigger than you are, and just, I think that's, we talk about that in digital marketing. And I think, the theme continues here with further and with the machine learning is that this is all helping us level the playing field to seem bigger than we are, to achieve more than we could just on our own. Like somebody said earlier, you could do it all on your own, but why? So these are not tools to be afraid of. These are tools that are going to, with a little bit of understanding and a little bit of work, they're going to level the playing field and help you punch at the weight class you are trying to. So anyway, thank you.
So totally, yeah.
Wes, can I ask one more question? And this comes from Mark. Mark asked, would the modeling data be applicable in other countries?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think to answer that precisely, we would have to, look at it and split it out. But my just sort of business gut is that consumer behavior is fairly consistent, and just because you're in one state or another, or in the States or Canada, it's probably not going to change, why you're looking for a product or service like this. So my guess is that attributes and behaviors are going to be pretty consistent across state lines. I know they're consistent across state lines, so I would imagine across borders as well, internationally. But it's a really interesting question, and I don't know that we've ever specifically looked at it, but I'm offline happy to cover that more with you, Mark.
Also, so Mark, reach out to the Further team and they will get back with you for sure. Wes, thank you so much. That was great. Really appreciate it. Hope you're able to catch some of the tennis at the US Open. And we'll be back in, I think, 7 minutes with Evan Friedkin with Rubric to talk about how he does not like salespeople. So stay tuned. All right. Thank you, Wes. See you in a few minutes.